Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Two things before we start. Number one, Grimo7, I saw you subscribe to the Twitch channel without me even being live, so thank you very much for that, man. I really appreciate that. And number two, we are already coming up on 500 subscribers on the YouTube channel as well. As you guys know, 1,000 is this year's goal, but we are smashing it, man. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Now, today's video is a very simple one. I am going to give you 5 tips I wish I knew before I started Escape from Tarkov. Some of these things might seem very familiar to you guys if you aren't as new, but some of these I will... I promise, even if you are a little bit more advanced, some of these things will still help you a lot. So, number one is you will need loads of items that you have found in raid. Keep them. For example, take a look at this quest. I have to find 10 30mm shells for BMP cannon in raid. Now, I can tell you right now, I must have found 30 of these when I just first started playing, when I was a complete noob, before I reset my account and stuff. And I sold them because they're like 60k each, or they were at the time. And so I sold them. But you need to hand them in for a quest. So if you find them in raid, just keep them. Now, if you have loads of these items in your stash right now, and you want to know if they are found in raid, if they are, they have this little mark on the bottom right here, and if you hover over it, it says found in raid. So make sure to keep an eye out for that. I'll have a picture up in your screen right now with some of the items you need. It's a little bit older, but most of these are still very much applicable. If you want to know a little bit more about this, I highly recommend watching my raid series. We've just started a new season on it, and that explains more than just saying, oh, you need to keep the find and raid items. Alright, so the second thing I want to talk to you guys about is ammo and weapon damage. In all these games we've played over the years, people say, you should really use the M4, for example, because it does like a lot of damage while having low recoil, whereas another weapon has other weapon damage and recoil. And it's somewhat true as well in Tarkov, but let's say you have this AK-74M, and you also have this... Do I have another AK with the same caliber? I do not, but let's say I have also here an AK-74, just a regular one. The weapon itself does not matter at all. In Tarkov, it's all down to your bullets. So each bullet type has a certain penetration damage and flesh damage, and that decides ultimately what your damage is. So this AK is quite kitted out, but even if you had like a completely naked AK, but you use the BS rounds, which are very good, you would still probably win a fight against someone with the BP ammo, just because it has less penetration and stuff like that. Now, there are a lot of sheets explaining in depth what these differences are, which ammo you should be using. And I don't really want to go into that for each ammo type right now, but just remember, the weapon you're using does not matter at all. It's all about your caliber of bullet and your bullet type. So this is a 5.45 times 39, and so is the BP ammo, but that does not mean that they deal the same damage or whatever. Everyone will tell you, when they're in their right mind, use the BS ammo, because this is the only one, together with the 7N39 Igolnik, that even has a chance of penetrating armor over level 3. Maybe you could use some BT rounds, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I will link to that list in the description down below, so you can make up your mind yourself. If you do want to have a little bit more information about this, I know that Pastilli has done a very in-depth guide on the bullets and the bullet types and the bullet damage and which ones you should use. But I was always in the understanding that the weapon you use actually matters. It only matters for weapon handling, guys, and the weapon rate of fire, rounds per minute. And that's it. So I hope that's a very good tip for you guys. I hope that makes you win a little bit more fights. There's no point in bringing, let's say, a 400k TX15 monster without actually putting the M995 in there, because you'll probably lose your fights anyway if you run M855 or something, because it's trash ammo, doesn't penetrate anything. For all these next tips, I have to be in a raid, so that's why we loaded into this offline raid. There's a couple of very simple ones, and there's one that is like a very, very, very confusing subject for most people. Normally, in any shooters we're used to, if you have a weapon, in your bottom right here, you can see the 50, and that means your weapon is basically zeroed for 50 meters, okay? And that would mean that if you're standing 50 meters from a place and you shoot somewhere, the bullet should hit exactly where you're aiming. And as you can see right now with this weapon, with the SVD, somewhat true, and I'd say this is about 50 meters. But every weapon in Tarkov has a standard bullet for which they are calibrated. And that means if you use the 7N1 with the SVD, you're somewhat accurate at 50 meters if you have the zeroing to 50 meters. You can see, okay, maybe the bullet is a little bit low, but if you aim at someone's head at 50 meters, you should be able to hit that shot. So this weapon at the 50 meters is very reliable, and you can use it like this. But there's also cases with other weapons, and especially one very, very, very good example for this is the US round. The ultra slow round is the 763, I think. 762. I always forget the number, but it's the other AK round. It's very slow, and that means the muzzle velocity is very low, and because of that, your zeroing does not add up anymore. Veritas did a very good video about this. Having your weapon zeroed for a certain range only counts and works for the exact ammo it's been calibrated for. So if you use a different round, you'll have to do your zeroing over again. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to link Veritas' video in the description box down below, because it's an hour long and it's a very good explanation of what he thinks the problem is and what he thinks can fix it. I completely agree with him that it is a problem and we'll have to fix it some way. Some people don't seem to understand it, but it's very simple. Your weapon only calibrates for the standard bullet type that the makers of this game have zeroed it for. So 50 meters with this sniper, the SVD, might work, but if you have the same 50 meters, but you put in a bullet that comes out of the barrel slower, it's going to drop more because it doesn't have the same speed, and you are going to shoot low. Just keep that in mind. If you try and use a new bullet type, if that makes sense, just load into an offline raid and try it out. Try if your shots are actually hitting their target where they should, especially with snipers. Like with the AK, I would say I've never had a real problem with this, except for when using bullets that are like the US round, which are just less than half as fast as the other bullets. Just watch Veritas' video and let me know in the comment section down below what you think about that. Okay? Number 4. What is it? We're at number 4. If you just normally shoot your weapon hip firing and you don't do anything, you have a certain spray pattern. Let me show you that pattern. Right, so here we have 60 bullet shot, and this is the spray pattern. As you can see, it is quite spread out. Now what I never knew, and what most people don't know, is that if you turn on your laser sight, this pattern will be much closer together. As you can see, you still have the initial upward burst, and I started aiming a little bit higher here, but look at how big this circle is compared to this small pocket. So the laser sight actually not only helps you aim where you're aiming, but it also reduces your hipfire recoil, which is, to me, absolutely amazing. If this wasn't the case, I would probably never run a laser sight, because obviously, let's say I'm walking from here, and even if I'm being sneaky, and I know someone's up there, and I go like this, and I, by accident, by mistake, do this, you already know I'm coming, and they know exactly where you're walking. Look how bright the laser is, especially when there's not that much light. They can easily just tell where you are. So it's something to keep in mind, but if you will want to hip fire, then make sure your sight is actually on, your laser focus thing. This actually works in reducing your hip fire spread. And one of the questions I get asked most is tip number 5 here. If you have your standard settings and you change it to where the only setting you change is hold down right mouse button for aiming. I'm just used to this and I like to do it like this. With the standard controls, you have to do like control and some button combination in order to change your magnification for your scope. And you will not be able to do that while aiming down your sight. But let's say you are standing here and you're fighting someone here. You want to have this magnification. Boom, boom, boom. You shoot him in the head. And then his mate is right there. All the way over there. You might want to have the opportunity to at least change your magnification. So the way you can change this, go into settings, then go into controls and have your switch scope magnification changed to one of your buttons. For me, it's this button for my thumb, right on my mouse. Then the other one for switching scopes is the other one on my mouse. And that's very easy for me to control. So if you have, and I don't right now, if you have one of those canted sights on the side of your gun, you can also change that button to where when you are aiming down, you can just click that, and instead of going straight, it just tilts the weapon like that, looks through the canted sight. So these are the 5 tips I wanted to give you guys. Some of them might be very simple to you guys. You might think, oh yeah, I already knew that, Eddie. Thanks for this video, fucking asshole. I don't know. These were just the things when I started thinking, what were the problems for me when starting this game? These were them. So I hope it helps. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like the video if you did, and let me know in the comment section down below if you have any questions. Thank you guys for watching. Eddie out.